No father should have to do this. But I love my daughter. And as I look out on you guys, you loved her too.
You might not be with us anymore, but you will always be in our hearts.
We just need to stop all this stuff and just forgive each other. I think that's what the Lord would want us to do, is to stop, just love one another.
Family and friends mourning the loss of Heather Heyer, who was tragically killed in that Charlottesville car attack over the weekend. This as tensions continue to mount over the attack and the president's handling of the situation. Joining me right now, Bishop E.W. Jackson. Good to have you here, sir.
Thanks for having me, Trish.
We are in a very divided state right now, and this situation has certainly inflamed that division. How do we start to mend? How do we move forward? And what role does the president play in that?
Well, look, Trish, in spite of what everybody is doing right now and attacking the president, what many are doing, I think there's a part of what the president has said that we all need to heed. Because in order to heal, it takes both sides. Sure, we should condemn white supremacists. It's evil. It's wicked. But on the other hand, you can't have a society in which people are constantly pointing the finger at others, saying, you're a beneficiary of white privilege. We don't want you at our graduation. We don't want you in our meetings. All white people are white supremacists. America is a nation of white supremacy. And then say, well, let's all come together. So we've all got to shun these extreme voices and figure out a way to become one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that requires deracializing this discussion and talking about principles rather than the color of our skin.
So let me ask you about the statues, because they are removing, I think, 4 of them in Baltimore. They did so overnight. And this is a movement now where people are seeing these statues as increasingly divisive, and I'm talking about Confederate war statues. What's your view on that? Do they need to remove them now?
Yeah, I think that the time has come for these Confederate memorials and for the flags and other relics of the Confederacy to be moved to a place where people who want to see them and celebrate them can do that, and those who believe that they're symbols of hatred and intimidation don't have to deal with them. I'm from Virginia. I've seen them many, many times. Frankly, they haven't bothered me, but I realize that they bother a lot of people.
You can understand how they might bother some people, right? I mean, it represents a very dark time in American history. Now, interestingly, when you look at when these statues were actually put up, it was at challenging times for race relations. So you saw hundreds of them going up during the Jim Crow era, and then you saw more going up during the 50s and 60s during the Civil Rights Movement. So when you start to put 2 and 2 together, you start to wonder, sir, about just exactly why they were going up at those specific times in history. Is it intimidation?
You know, Trish, to be very honest, I'm much more concerned about what the future holds and the reason for getting them out of our way. So we got black children, Trish, who can't get a decent education. We've got minorities who can't get decent jobs in these inner cities, and we're fighting over monuments. Let's get the monuments out of our way so we can focus on the problems that all Americans are really concerned about.
A lot of Americans are going to say, no, that this is part of my heritage, it's part of my history. My family members fought in that war, and I don't think we should erase it from being. What do you say to them?
I don't listen. I'm a student of history. I love American history, even the good, the bad. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I don't think we ought to sanitize it. That's a totalitarian and authoritarian move. I simply think that we ought to get this out of the public domain. Public spaces ought to be for all of us. And if there are symbols that tend to say to some people they're hated, they're second-class citizens, then we need to remove those so, again, we can come together and concentrate on the problems that we all know and care about.
Thank you, sir. Good to have you here.
We do.
More